Ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott Pollock, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago Reporting. Welcome to another edition of the Critical Post Chicago Report. This particular Critical Post Chicago Report is a special announcement. It is readily apparent, ladies and gentlemen, and it should be readily apparent to you, that for the last 18 months, what we have witnessed is a complete and total meltdown of integrity in what is masquerading as the press in this country. It should also be readily apparent to anybody in this country that is watching, as well as those from without in other countries, that the United States is the biggest banana republic in the world, along with 193 other banana republics, which are basically being manipulated and controlled by the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and other agencies that work within the structure of the United Nations. That the corporate regime is, in fact, the tail wagging the dog all over the world. It should be readily apparent to everybody that the journalism channels in this country have aligned themselves on one side of the Hegelian dialectic or other. These are partisan propaganda outlets for their special brand of what they think America should be, or ideologies, and pointing fingers at each other, playing the he said, she said game, as if that is the relevant information that we should all know. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no properly formatted press in this country, and like I have said before, turn it all off. Turn it off. These are PR platforms. Now, I'll get into the election in a subsequent report because I'm going to do a couple of broadcasts as soon as I'm done with this special announcement. I'm not going to get into that in this special announcement. But all of that having been said, the Critical Post Chicago and the White Hat Report have decided and are in discussion right now to form a close strategic affiliation. Now, what that does is it brings on board to the Critical Post Chicago dozens upon dozens of private investigators across the country and the world. And then what we're going to have to figure out is who is going to take the raw data and then compose that into properly formatted news. We're in discussions. We don't understand exactly what our business model is going to be. We are having discussions as to how we are going to generate revenue. As the chief editor of this company, I am not comfortable with begging for donations. I don't walk around with my hat in my hand. We may have a situation where we put a paywall up, and you will have to pay to get these news reports, either $1 at a time or $2 at a time. We don't know what the ceiling will be on that. We are looking at merchandising things. It is not going to be vitamins. We have sunglasses right now for sale in the Critical Post Chicago store. We have some pairs still left with gold frames. We have more pairs left with silver frames. But we're not going to get into the vitamin business or the water purification business or the Geiger counter business or any other thing of that ilk or nature. That just doesn't seem to be something that we're gonna, that I think is viable. I think it's like being a snake oil salesman. So we don't know what the business model is going to be exactly. We ask you that you go to the head page of the Critical Post every once in a while, and all you have to do, if your computers are operating correctly and your browsers aren't clogged, click on an ad that you see, any ad that you see, and Google will pay us. But, people don't remember to do that too often. And the Google advertising pay model is not enough to animate the dozens upon dozens of private investigators that we have at our disposal. And it's not going to be enough to pay for people who know how to compose a print format and deliver properly formatted news. But we know that there is not a properly formatted news reporting company in this country, or for that matter, that we see across the world. It's more like storytelling. We monitor hundreds of news outlets. We see everything that you see and more. The other thing that we're not sure of, ladies and gentlemen, is whether people even want a properly formatted news company or not. It seems to be that the most successful platforms are the platforms that merely project an opinion, and that people that agree with that opinion continue to frequent those channels. In other words, people want to see a mirror of themselves, which is not properly formatted news reporting. That is strictly editorial content. And I, as a chief editor, I don't want to sit here and be involved with doing nothing but offering my opinion. That's not going to be attractive to me. Because what do you need my opinion for? You have your own opinion. Now, you may agree with some of my opinions, but just merely offering an opinion, opinions are a dime a dozen. So we're not sure whether people even want news reporting in this country. People that I talk to on the street, they know that there's a problem. People don't know. Generally, when I ask them a question about HR 5736, they say, "What's that?" They don't know that propaganda has been made legal by the federal government to be used upon the people of this country from that federal government. Nobody knows that. It wasn't reported, except at this anchor desk. So we're not sure, again, what the business model is going to be. But we do know that there's a vacuum, and we're going to try and fill it. Now, we ask that you, if you see, we'll ask this audience that if you see something that you think is salient and relevant to our environment in terms of our daily lives out there, and you want to help contribute to the Critical Post, please send that link to thecriticalpost@gmail.com. And if we think that that is important content, we will link it from the head page of the Critical Post Chicago. Again, that email account is thecriticalpost@gmail.com. If you see a link out there, a news story out there that you think is at least somewhat properly formatted and is very relevant to what's going on a daily basis that we're all watching and being subjected to, send it to thecriticalpost@gmail.com. We would ask for your participation there. I would also like to state a sincere thank you to a lady out there and her husband who a few months ago, about 5 or 6 months ago, called the Critical Post and had a conversation with me, and it went something like the following. Can I donate money to the Critical Post Chicago? And I said to this nice woman, we don't encourage donations. We don't ask for donations. She says, yes, I understand that, but I want to donate something to you because you're doing a good job. And I won't tell you the compliment that she extended to me, but she was very kind, her and her husband. And I won't mention her name. She knows who she is because she's going to watch this. And this lady sent more than $100 and less than $500. I won't tell you the exact amount that she sent, in a money order to this company because she wanted to contribute. And I want to thank her personally on the air right now. And she knows who she is. And she is very kind. And in the spirit of that lady, we are going to continue this work because I don't want to let that lady down. So again, to conclude this special announcement, the Critical Post Chicago and the White Hat Report are in discussions and are in pretty much total agreement to create a strategic affiliation so that we can bring original news reporting, properly formatted, to the world and the United States of America. We don't know if you want it, but we're going to attempt to do it. There is no fourth estate in this country. Not that I'm aware of. I will tell you to turn the propaganda off, go about your lives, and if it's worth hearing, you'll hear it from this anchor desk. Other than that, don't be concerned, because it's not going to affect you one way or the other. The corporate regime is doing what it's doing. But turn it off. Enjoy your lives, because the only thing that this content does is frustrate the population. Either one side of the population is being frustrated or the other side of the population. It has been strictly divided right down the middle of the Hegelian dialectic, left and right. Don't watch it. Again, this is Scott Pollock, Chief Editor of the Critical Post Chicago, reporting. Thanks again for watching this special edition from the Critical Post Chicago Report. I'll be back very shortly because we've got some things in the queue right now that I have to do that I've been preparing and waiting for the election to be over. That is all.